The metaphor is that each of us is golden by nature. We were born golden, we were born high, we were born knowing, we were born connected to our bliss, we were born knowing truth, we were born knowing everything that every great spiritual master has ever said. We were one with the Christ, the Buddha, everyone. He recognized that in spite of all the different stories we seem to be telling, there's really only one. And he called it the hero's journey.
There must have been thousands and thousands of hero stories from every culture, but until Joseph Campbell came along, certainly I never realized how they all kind of fit together and how they were basically the same story.
The hero's journey is a pattern. You can almost think of it as an algorithm that has three basic parts: separation, initiation, and return.
A simple version of the hero's journey is, someone starting out in their normal protected world and then getting a call to adventure.
The call to adventure.
There's a vision, there's a quest.
It's the story of the hero enduring some trials.
Various trials and ordeals.
Meeting different obstacles along the way, people that hurt you, people that help you.
Doors will open, as Campbell would say, for you where there are no doors for others. Dragons will appear that are your dragons alone.
You get to the innermost cave where you're really challenged, the greatest crisis, and you find your true self.
The achievement, the glory.
But then that's not the end of it. That is to bring that back to the community.
There's a return to tell the story.
That is a heroic journey.
Separation, initiation, return. All of the adventures of the human story are in there. All the heroes, all the villains, all the gods and goddesses, and all of the knights, and all of the fantastic creatures we can conjure up in animation, they're all in there, because they're all in here. Because they're all in here. This is where they come from.
The whole idea of hero's journey, a journey of life, clear patterns to guide you through. You're born, you have a childhood, you have adolescence, and you try to find a place for you to become an adult. And you go through adventures. You struggle with your inner conflicts. And finally, you become a hero. You slay the dragons. You succeed in conquering all the demons, and you step over thresholds. And finally, you have arrived. We get old, we die, but within this short span, we have to have some meaning, some reason for this existence. It doesn't have to be high and mighty and fantastic. You can have a very simple life, still go through the similar pattern.
I have countless examples of young people who go to college because they're expected to go to college, and they study biology because since the time they were 6, they were supposed to be a doctor.
Chinese symbol for crisis are two symbols. The first one is danger, and the second one immediately is opportunity. So crisis is both danger and opportunity.
This idea that if one storyline collapses, that's the end of the movie.
You can either surrender to victimhood, and a lot of people do, or you can surrender to a fundamentalism. You can basically give your responsibility to someone else and say, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Or you can say, I have a choice here and I'm responsible. Now, what does it mean to be the hero of your own life? It means to be responsible for your own adventure.
You need to find your own path, and that kind of comes from that impulse within to go out and really discover who you are beyond just the narrow confines of how you've been conditioned, what you've been told to do, and go out and explore for yourself what your truth is and how you can go out and rock it. The hero's journey for me is having the courage to look within yourself and say, what am I here to do? What am I most passionate about in my life? What are my greatest gifts? How do I give them to the world? And Joseph Campbell captured it with the phrase, follow your bliss.
Daddy said, what do you want to do? I said, I need to leave school. I'm never going to learn anything. I'm not going to university. I said, I want to play drums. I've learned to play drums in the attic, and that's my world, and totally naive, like, psh. So Dad sends me off to London with a drum kit. So I went to London, and all of it came true. Of course, I'm not sitting here, I've got to be rich and I've got to be famous, but I have to be doing something I love to do. And I have so much passion. And I didn't even know what that was really all about, but I do now.
First thing is ask yourself, what am I passionate about? You know, what are the things I love doing? What are the activities when I engage them it feels like hours go by in minutes? That's one big clue about what your bliss is.
Find out what you most love to do, and then do more of that thing.
What was it that made me different as a child? What set me apart? What caused me to cry at night in my pillow because I didn't fit in with the in crowd? That is probably precisely where the door to your bliss is going to open. Go back and find it.
It's not about being successful. It's not about feeding your family. Write some bad poetry. Do something that gives you that moment.
You can write in a journal, because writing in a journal is a conversation you have with yourself. You can get to know your gifts, your talents, your weaknesses, your hopes, your dreams, your lessons.
Don't do what Daddy says, because Daddy has one interest in mind for you, and that's your security. And if you bargain away your life for security now, you will never find your bliss.
Just because you don't know what the call on your life is right now, doesn't mean play ostrich and stick your head in the sand and say, well, just because I don't know it, I guess I shouldn't move towards anything. The very fact that you're looking for your bliss means that you're in the process of getting to your bliss. I mean, part of life and part of the whole journey is exploration.
Talents, you go looking. You know, try things you've never done before.
Put yourself in uncomfortable situations at least every 7 days. If at least every 7 days people aren't laughing at you or scratching their heads, wondering why you're dreaming so big or doing what you're doing or have such a fierce resolve to achieving your goals, then I don't think you're stretching enough. And ultimately, we grow the most through the things that stretch us the most.
For me, one of the most formative times, the first probably most formative time, was when I dropped out of law school. All of my friends at the time told me at least stay through the first year, and I couldn't make it through the first semester. I was literally nauseous at the idea of completing this. I burned my resume. I had no desire to live within the corporate world in any sense. And in the same 24-hour period of time, ended my relationship of 5 years and dropped out of law school. It was an incredibly gut-wrenching, soul-wrenching time. Moved back in with Mom. There were several months where I just laid in bed and slept and read, and it wasn't a pretty process. But the only thing I knew I wanted to do was to coach a Little League baseball team. The little bit of instinct that I had, the little bit of bliss I had in my life at that time, was to work with these kids. And I had no idea what would come out of it, and then 3-6 months later, I had an idea that, wow, there's an amazing opportunity to serve families in sports. The internet was just getting going. This was 1998, and I had a vision of what I could do to serve these families and created a company that there's no way I could have imagined when I dropped out of law school. No possible way. But as it turns out, I started this business. We won the business plan competition at UCLA. We raised $5 million. I hired the CEO of Adidas to be our CEO, and we hired the law firm that I would have wanted to work for before I graduated from law school. So just this beautiful, sense of this is it. This is what happens when we follow our bliss. Magical things happen that we couldn't have imagined when we're going through the tough point of making the decision to take the leap, to go for it, and to make the difference in our life.
Fear is, what we face every day. We fear that we're going to be rejected, that we're going to be, no one's going to return our phone call, that no one's going to like what we made or what we did or what we said.
Fear is a very interesting thing. First of all, we need to realize that fear is an inherent part of the human experience. But it's not about getting rid of fear. Where's it going to go? There's nowhere for it to go. The issue is to have courage, to move forward in spite of the fear you feel.
The courage is not a lack of fear. The courage is dealing with your fear. Nobody would ever be described as courageous who didn't confront their own fear. That's not courage at all. It's just doing something that you find relatively unchallenging.
You've got to consistently go up to your fears and go one step past them, one step past them. And you'll find that your comfort zone expands each time you do that. Things that used to freak you out won't freak you out as much. And now you have the tools, you have the strength, literally, to lift more in your life as you face your fears more and more authentically.
The great obstacle for most of us really is ourselves. If we can overcome that basic fear about what we might achieve and we take that risk, I think all kinds of things open up. In Campbell's terms, we can all be heroes.
In battling demons and overcoming them, because that's what our soul's journey is about. It's about facing fear and growing beyond it. And as we overcome our fears, we gain power.
But if you speak through your life, and your life is the story, then you'll change lives. And that's what mythical beings do.
And it's why stories are great, because my story right now, which is also my truth, may have an effect on you. And therefore, I am taking the internal, I'm making it external, and through that, I'm sharing an experience. That choice to not give up is a story you're telling yourself that makes you feel immortal, that makes you feel like you can overcome anything, that makes you feel transcendent. And that's all we got.